Hello class, welcome back to the part second of the chapter Let Us Meet. So in the previous video we have discussed about Madame Curie, that is Marie Curie, and then we discussed about Sushruta, how he was a surgeon and how he invented plastic surgery. He is known as the father of plastic surgery, etc. So we discussed about them. In today's video we are going to discuss about Martin Luther King Jr. So Martin Luther King Jr. he was an African leader. He was an Afro-American leader. He was an American leader. He fought to achieve equality and justice for Afro-American people. So he wanted that जो Afro-American लोग हैं अमेरिका में जो रहते हैं, अफ्रीकन ओरिजिन के जो लोग हैं जो अमेरिका में रहते हैं, उनको इक्वलिटी से ट्रीट किया जाए, उनको अच्छे से ट्रीट किया जाए. यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड अबाउट द ब्लैक एंड वाइट डिस्क्रिमिनेशन की जो ब्लैक लोग होते हैं उनके अगेंस्ट डिस्क्रिमिनेट किया जाता है वाइट लोगों द्वारा. तो ये उसी के अगेंस्ट था. तो जो मार्टिन लूथर किंग जूनियर थे, ही वॉज हिमसेल्फ अ ब्लैक पर्सन एंड ही वांटेड कि जो दुनिया में जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है, जो अमेरिका में जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है ब्लैक और वाइट्स के बीच में, वो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन खत्म हो जाए. ही वांटेड दैट. So he fought for the equality and he was against the unfair treatment that was given to these people, and he delivered a very famous speech known as I Have a Dream speech. So it is a very famous speech and you can Google it and you can find it anywhere if you want to listen to what he has said in that speech. So it is a very famous speech and it inspired many American people to fight for the society where all people are equal. He ultimately wanted that society should be equal. There should be no other like कोई black, white and all ऐसी discrimination नहीं होना चाहिए. He wanted that society should be fair and it should be equal. So in 1964, because of all these things, he was awarded Nobel Peace Prize Award for his effort to improve the lives of African American. So he wanted to improve the lives of African Americans. So he was awarded Nobel Peace Prize Award. Next important personality that we are going to discuss is Savitribai Phule. She was a poet. She fought against the ills of society. She protested against the caste system which was prevalent in the Indian society, and even till date the caste system is prevalent in the Indian society. So she was against it. And she worked hard to promote the rights of women, and she encouraged women education, and she founded the first girls' school in Pune. She founded the first girls' school. Actually, there was no initiation for the girls' education or anything like that, but she and her husband, they were all supporter of women's education, and they wanted that the women should be encouraged and they should be educated, and they founded a girls' school in Pune in 1848. And after that, in her honor, the University of Pune has been renamed as the Savitribai Phule Pune University. So it has been renamed as Savitribai Phule Pune University. Her name was Savitribai Phule, so the university name is Savitribai Phule in Pune. Right? I have compiled some videos for you so that you can get better understanding of these personality. So let us start with Martin Luther King Jr.
Martin Luther King Jr. He was a civil rights activist. He was born in Atlanta, Georgia, United States on January 15, 1929. His father's name was Martin Luther King Sr., and mother's name was Alberta Williams King. His father was a pastor. His mother was an accomplished organist and choir leader. He had 2 siblings. He went to Booker T. Taliaferro Washington High School. He started his college education at Morehouse College at the young age of 15. After getting his degree in sociology from Morehouse, Martin got a divinity degree from Crozer Seminary and then got his doctor's degree in theology from Boston University. On June 18, 1953, King married Coretta Scott, who was an accomplished singer, author, and a civil rights activist at the age of 24. The couple had 4 children. In 1954, Martin Luther King Jr. joined the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church in Montgomery, Alabama as pastor. Later, he became a member of the executive committee of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and began to work for their rights. In his first major civil rights action, he led the Montgomery bus boycott in 1955-56. Martin was arrested and his house was bombed. Martin prevailed and segregation on the Montgomery buses came to an end. Next, in 1957, Southern Christian Leadership Conference was established and King was elected its president, a position he held until his death. On May 17, 1957, Southern Christian Leadership Conference organized a large nonviolent demonstration, which they called Prayer Pilgrimage for Freedom. The meeting was held at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. In his first national speech, titled "Give Us the Ballot," King called for voting rights for blacks. In 1959, King traveled to India, where he visited Mahatma Gandhi's place. The trip had a huge impact on him, and he became more committed to nonviolence. In February 1960, a group of African American students began a nonviolent sit-in movement in Greensboro, North Carolina. The movement quickly spread to several other cities. By August, they were able to abolish segregation at lunch counters in 27 cities. When King refused to move out of the white area, he, along with 36 others, was arrested but soon released. He again violated probation on traffic conviction and was rearrested. This time too, he was let off quickly. King returned to Albany in July 1962 and was rearrested. This time too he refused bail, but the police chief discreetly arranged it and he was forcefully released. On April 3, 1963, the SCLC began another nonviolent campaign against racial segregation as well as economic injustice in Birmingham, Alabama. On April 12, King was arrested and put in Birmingham jail, where he had to put up with an unusually harsh condition. Here he wrote an open letter from jail. In it, he mentioned "Why We Cannot Wait," that became famous as "Letter from Birmingham City Jail." Then he helped to organize the famous March on Washington. Over 250,000 people attended this march in an effort to show the importance of civil rights legislation. Some of the issues the march hoped to accomplish included an end to segregation in public schools, protection from police abuse, and to get laws passed that would prevent discrimination in employment. This time Martin gave his "I Have a Dream" speech. This speech has become one of the most famous speeches in history. The March on Washington was a great success. The Civil Rights Act was passed a year later in 1964. On March 29, 1968, he traveled to Memphis, Tennessee, in support of the strike held by the Black Sanitary Public Works employees. His last speech, "I've Been to the Mountaintop," was made on April 3 at Memphis. On April 4, 1968, while standing in a motel's balcony, he was shot by a white fanatic at 6:01 p.m. He was immediately taken to St. Joseph's Hospital, where he underwent an emergency surgery but died 7:05 p.m. He was only 39 years old then.
In the 19th century lived a woman called Savitri Bai. She's a pioneer for feminists in our country. You might have heard her briefly mentioned in your history textbooks, but do you realize she sparked a revolution of women's education in India? Savitri Bai was born in Naigaon, Maharashtra in 1831. She belonged to a Shudra caste. In 1840, when she was only 10 years old, she was married off to Jyotiba Phule, who was also only 13 years old at that time. From a tender age, Savitri Bai showed an interest in educating herself, which for a woman, especially from an oppressed caste, was nothing short of revolutionary. Jyotiba assisted her in her effort, teaching her to read and write. Even though education was a product made for and by upper caste men, Savitri Bai would not let the casteist and sexist system stop her in her pursuit of education. After completing her education, Savitri Bai began training to be a teacher. In 1847, she passed all her exams and became certified to be a teacher. In 1848, Savitri Bai and Jyotiba Phule started the first Indian-run school for girls in Bhidewada, Pune, making Savitri Bai the first Indian woman to become a teacher and headmistress. Of course, the upper castes did not take kindly to a Bahujan woman teaching and educating girls. On her way to school, Savitri Bai would have stones, mud, and cow dung pelted at her. It is said that she would carry 2 saris when she went to school, changing out of the soiled sari once she reached school. She would say, "As I do the sacred task of teaching my fellow sisters, the stones or cow dung that you throw at me seem like flowers. May God bless you." Due to the outrage at their work, Savitri Bai and Jyotiba Phule were thrown out of their house by Jyotiba's father. Still resolute, they moved and opened another school for adults in Pune for the Dalit Bahujan community at the house of Usman Sheikh and his sister Fatima Sheikh. They taught at the school with Fatima Sheikh, who became the first Muslim woman teacher of India. From a single school with 8 girls in 1848, Savitri Bai was running 3 schools with about 150 girls by 1851. A report on the Pune Observer in 1852 read, "The number of girls in Jyoti Rao's girls' school is 10 times more than the number of boys in government schools. This is because the system for teaching girls is far superior to what is available to boys from the government schools." In 1852, Savitri Bai started a women's rights organization called Mahila Seva Mandal and organized a successful barber strike to protest the practice of shaving widows' heads. Savitri Bai was also a poet and wrote poetry stressing on the need for education and the oppression faced by marginalized castes. In 1863, she started an infanticide prohibition home for pregnant widows to provide them a safe space to give birth without the fear of society. The Phules themselves adopted the son of Kashi Bai, a Brahmin widow. He was named Yashwant Rao and went on to become a doctor. When Jyoti Rao passed away on November 28, 1890, Savitri Bai broke all norms when she lit his funeral pyre. She also took over the running of their social organization, Satya Shodhak Samaj. In 1897, a wave of bubonic plague hit Nalasopura. While taking care of the afflicted, Savitri Bai contracted the disease herself. She succumbed to the disease and died on March 10, 1897. Her legacy has been memorialized in statues, stamps, university names, and in books and films. Women's education in India is indebted to the tireless work of Savitri Bai Phule. Shouldn't January 3rd, her birth anniversary, be celebrated as Teachers' Day?